Welcome back to Shire Travels. This is part 2 of the caravan walkthrough and walk around. In this one, I'm going to be talking you through the internal walkthrough of the van. If you want information on the specifications, the size, the weight, all those sorts of things, see the external walkthrough video. That will tell you everything that you need to know. And I'll also put a link in the description to the Caravan on Mars's website so you can go through at your leisure and have a look at all the nitty-gritty specifications in there. Welcome to the internal walkthrough. Let's start here at the front door. As you can see, it has a built-in blind, which is very handy. With this door, you can also lift the handle up and the hard exterior will swing out and it'll just leave you with the fly screen mesh door. Next, we've got this bench top space here, which is quite handy just for chucking things on. And then there's the internal TV bracket, which is exactly the same as the one outside. And then you can also see the actuator which pushes up the roof. On this panel here we have the RangerX system, which shows all the different lights and features inside the van. I'll show you a little bit more footage of that shortly. All the hooks that you can see around the place are ones I just added on myself. This is the sound input for the TV, and then next to it is the sensor for the air conditioner, where you pretty much just have to point the remote at it. 2 power points there, which is very handy to have, and then below that are the volume controls for the TV. There's a cigarette socket and then a couple of USB sockets below that too. Just show you the small panel here at the bottom. It's got a switch for the step light and then a couple of fuses. It's also got the button to make the roof go up or down here. I think ideally we'd like to have a little cover or case to go over these buttons, just to make sure little hands don't accidentally make the roof go down. This cupboard here has a whole lot of electrical stuff in it. It is a bit of a dog's breakfast, to be honest. It also has a really annoying green flashing light that you can see through the sides of the cupboard door at night. A bit annoying, something that we need to change in future. This cupboard here we use to house all the kids' clothes. We've made those shelves ourselves very easily with a bit of plyboard from Bunnings. The cupboard itself is a great size. It's actually very deep in there. You could really set it up to accommodate your clothes or accessories in any way that you wanted to. We installed these shelves in here ourselves, really easy, just with a bit of plyboard from Bunning screwed into the side. I know I wanted to have tubs in there for clothes, and it was easier to make the shelves fit the tubs rather than the other way around. So at the bottom I've got shoes in a small shallow tub, a couple of big tubs for clothes, and then at the very top is nappy stuff. Now I really wanted our nappy stuff to have its own space tucked away. I didn't want to have a caddy that we'd have to move around when we packed up. Eventually that will become more storage space for shoes. These tubs are just from Kmart. Now they do look a little bit rough on the bottom. Tom did have to ever so slightly shave the bottom off them just to make sure that they fit in there perfectly. With the door latch, we do have to make sure the tubs are pushed as far over to the right as possible, otherwise it doesn't latch properly. It's a really good space though, super flexible. Again, it's one of those spaces which we put together quite quickly, but maybe in future with a bit more time we might rejig it to better meet our needs. I'll just show you a little bit of footage now as to how many clothes I can fit in these tubs. They also have dividers in the middle that you can take out or move around depending on what you've got in there. Now our kids are quite young, so they do go through multiple changes of clothes a day usually when we're away. But as you can see, you can fit heaps of jumpers, t-shirts, socks, pile them all up in there. They fit in there really well. I also like that they're transparent so that you don't have to take everything out to find something. You can see exactly where it is. I'll just show you a bit more of this panel here. It has all the inputs for the lights and the inverter, fridge, all those sorts of things. You can actually dim lights on here, which is very handy. There's also another part here which shows your batteries, everything that's coming in and everything going out. Again, it's probably one of those things that can do far more features than what we realize. We just haven't had the time to sit down and work it out yet. I think you can also change the name and the pictures of all the little icons here on the screen. Here I've just added a couple of extra storage pockets on the side here. I think you can never have too much storage. These are the vents for the air conditioner, which we've only used once and it works really well. Now I'll show you where I store my clothes, and it's in this huge drawer here. I have these soft divided storage caddies for all my clothes, and then I also have a hard basket which I put all my shoes in just in case they're a little bit dirty. The drawer is huge, it's really good, I can store so much stuff in there. It's good, but it's also a little bit bad because I've got so much room I definitely overpack. One thing to just be aware of is that you need to make sure the toilet door is completely shut because the drawer comes all the way out, you don't want to accidentally catch it, and the top of the drawer just sneaks under the door for the bathroom there. The drawer underneath is exactly the same size. We've just got heaps of random stuff in there. Nappies, extra towels, sleep bags, those sorts of things. Tom is still in denial about the fact that we are caravan people now and prefers to keep his clothes in a bag in the car. Each to their own. I'll just show you here how much room there is when you do pull the drawer all the way out. Look, it's not the biggest caravan, we know that, but the amount of storage that's in there I think is just fantastic. I've also just got some footage here of the drawers empty. I know when there's lots of stuff in there, sometimes it can be quite hard to actually gauge how big it is. This is just showing you it empty. I mean, you could put different dividers in there if you wanted to, set up something a bit more permanent. Let's move down to these few plugs and switches here below the lower bunk. First up, we've got a cigarette socket. We've then got the controls for the diesel heater, an internal speaker, and then the vent for the heater as well. The heater is fantastic. You really don't have to run it for long, and the van is so lovely and warm. This silver part on the end here is the bracket for a table that can slot in. We haven't had to use it yet, but on our longer trips we might bring it along just in case we need to sit inside. Now our youngest is about 18 months and that's why we have this bed rail here. This bed rail was just from Baby Bunting. It was the longest one that I could find. Even so, it didn't quite fit. That's why I've got the pool noodle on the end just to make sure that no little hands can get through there. It fits absolutely perfectly in terms of height, so you can see when it folds down it doesn't quite touch the floor. And so it tucks out the way really nicely, and then it's easy to quickly lift up if we need to switch the heater on or off. If we did want to use the internal table, we would have to take this bed rail out. In saying that though, in the 8 months that we've had the van, we've never used the table once. This is the lower bunk. As you can see, there is some mesh padding just around here. It's just a cot bumper that I double-sided velcroed onto the side of the van. The reason I did that is behind there is a couple of mesh pockets, and I didn't want little arms and legs to be tangled up there at night. I also got it to cover the bottom of the window because I was worried that they would bump their head. In saying that, I don't think it actually is needed across the window, and I could probably just drop it down so it just covers the baskets. Now originally I just had one long standard single bed sheet which covered both sections of the lower bunk and top bunk. But then I soon realized it would actually be easier to have a couple of separate mattress covers on each section of the bed. This way, when we're taking sections of the bed out, for example, if we need to access the diesel heater under here, I can just lift that panel up and pull it out. I'm not having to take everything off the bed and remake it. It's really simple and easy. I also find that the cot covers fit much better because they are much narrower. The bunks are narrower than a single bed, and so these ones just fit on there a bit more snug. Now I haven't shown you the diesel heater, and that is because the bed rail is stuck on there so well that I didn't want to take it off. I've stuck it on there with some really heavy duty tape, and then we also have the metal round disc, which if you ever use a bed rail you know what I'm talking about, that tucks into the other side of the mattress. That just kind of fits down the other side, and so far so good. Even with the little one sometimes pushing against it, it hasn't moved. The lower bunk also has its own reading light, and it's flexible so you can swing it out the way if you don't want little hands to be getting to it, or if you need to point it in a certain direction. We found it's really useful to use as a bit of a night light. Here you can see the latches at either end, which make the top bunk be able to swing down to make into a kind of sofa area. Each section of the mattress on each bed has got a really long strip of Velcro down the middle, and we found that they haven't budged at all. Next to the bed here, there's a 12-volt socket. This is handy for plugging in the white noise and also plugging in the camera that we have for the baby monitor. I also stuck some more hooks on here, again just for white noise and bundling up a few cables and things like that. The top bunk has a curtain that goes all the way across. The material is really thick and it's actually very good at blocking out light. There's also a light above the top bunk which is dimmable. The top bunk is in a couple of sections because, as I mentioned before, it can swing down into a couch. Our van came with this built-in bed rail here, which has been great. I originally had tried to rig up some sort of netting mesh system to try and keep the kids in their bed. I thought it would be a bit safer than having a bed rail in there, but actually I found that I couldn't ever get them to be tight or taut enough. It was just something that I was trying to make myself. It wasn't the best invention. We've actually found that the top one on its own without any sort of mesh is absolutely fine. And then with the bottom one went for the folding bed rail, and that's been great. One thing to note though is that this bed rail here is quite heavy duty, and as you can see it does hang down a bit lower than the main bunk itself. Now because of that, when you swing it down to make it into the couch, it doesn't sit hard up against that back wall. That just means when you take the cushion out from the lower bunk and put it back on, it's not sitting super snug, it does hang over the edge slightly. I'll just put some footage in now of me setting up the couch. I haven't taken out the lower cushion so you can see just how it sits there on top. Look, it's not too bad, we could make it work if we had to. The thing I really like is that the end section of the top bunk just stays fixed there, so you can push all the bedding across, you don't need to worry about finding somewhere else to store it, and then when you set the bed up again, it's very easy to just quickly fold it all out. As you can see here, it just doesn't sit too far back because of that bed rail. I've also noticed that this mattress has a huge stain on it. It is just a water stain that's on the cover. And here I'm just folding the top bunk back up again. Apologies, where I put the camera for each of these shots, the sun is just directly beaming into it. And here's the one time we have folded the bed down to make the sofa, and as you can see, the lower bunk mattress does hang slightly over the edge. This is just a bit of footage of me remaking the beds. I thought this would be quite handy to put in because it just shows you how much room there is in the caravan or how much room there isn't in there. Just gives you a better idea of how much space is in there for moving around, making the beds, those sorts of things. Now, as I mentioned before, I've used cot covers on the mattresses because they fit much better. These beds are quite narrow compared to a standard single bed. What I've done with the doona is I've sewn it to size, so it matches the width of the bed perfectly. What I've then done is folded the end over and sewn it up so it tucks over the end of the mattress. That way it can't move up in the night. The curtains can also tuck all the way around the corner here if you don't want to use them. Once we're ready to pack up and leave, one thing I do is pull the curtains so that they're just hanging over the bed like this. That way when the roof comes down, they just hang over the lower bunk, they're not getting all bunched up. Here I am just fixing the end of the curtain that was hanging off, it was really bothering me. And as you can see, there's space for me to sit up here, stretch my legs out, they're really good sized bunks. Now on the door to the bathroom here, I've got a heavy duty hook that can hold up to 5 kilos. And this is where we place our laundry bag. The reason why I've put it there is so you can go into the bathroom, take your dirty clothes off, and then straight away just put your hand over the door and tuck them straight into the dirty clothes bag. Far easier than trying to find a space in the bathroom to put them or trying to throw them onto the bed. In a small space like this, it's just trying to find ways to make things really convenient. Now that laundry bag is quite small, once it gets full, we just chuck all the dirty clothes into, say, like a Woolworths or Coles, one of those big kind of plasticky bags, and then chuck it in the main storage area out the back. Now we're going to step up onto the king bed. Now I just want to quickly mention that the top of the steps here are quite matte, and even with socks on, I found that they aren't too slippery. Now we found the mattress that came with the bed to be pretty good. It's just a foam mattress. I did, however, add a mattress topper just to help with an extra bit of softness and also help with a bit of warmth as well. Now you can see here this actuator for the roof is inside that cabinet. On the other side, it actually is in the corner of the bed, and so the mattress is shaped around that corner. You can also see that there's a vent there for the air conditioner. Something to bear in mind, we just make sure that the blankets are always pulled quite tightly there just so they don't get caught in anything. The main bed also has curtains and they're great, they're really good at blocking out light. It's handy because we can pull them across and let's say the kids or one of us want to have a nap, everyone can still go in and out the van without disturbing them too much. Now each side of the bed has got a small light, a similar light to the one that's on the bottom bunk. It's flexible so you can fold it all the way down so it's well out of the way when the roof goes up and down. Each side of the bed also has 2 USB ports. There's a fan above each side of the bed. Now these were an added extra, but they came complimentary with our van. If you watched our first video, you'd know why. I think to have them added in was about $200 or $300, so that saved us a fair bit of money. They can swing up and down, obviously because the roof comes down and then it moves in all different directions. They are fantastic, they don't draw much power at all, and they really help with the ventilation. Here they are folded up, and when the roof is down, they sit just on top of the mattress. Now this van has windows all the way around it. It's great. There's so much natural light in there. It's also easy to get some good airflow going through. We have found a little bit of an issue with moisture in the morning when we wake up. Very common in pop tops where you have a lot of canvas for that to happen. We try and leave a couple of windows cracked open just to try and minimize this. And then before we pack up, we'll just go around with a microfiber towel and just get any last bits of moisture out. The king bed is a fantastic size. It wasn't something that I was particularly bothered about how big the bed was, but there's been a couple of nights when both kids have ended up in bed with us, and it's been great having that huge bed. There's plenty of room for all of us to get a good night's sleep. There's also a light above the bed here, and like all the others, it's dimmable. Here you can see how the lights fold down really easily. I just make sure they're pushed down lower than the metal side you can see there, that way I know they won't touch the roof. There's also room to sit up on the bed there, which is really handy. It's always a bit uncomfortable in some vans if you have to kind of crouch. This one's perfect, there's heaps of headroom. Now I'll show you through what is possibly my favourite feature of this van, and that is the internal bathroom. There's a dimmable light in the roof here. You might notice there's not an exhaust fan. We just crack the window when we're having a shower, and then once we're finished, open it up completely, and it's fine. We find the steam clears really quickly. I've got hooks all around the bathroom for hanging up towels and different things. Now I'll show you this storage cupboard, which is a great space. There is heaps of room in here. The shelf is metal and I'm not quite sure if it can be moved, but as you can see, there is plenty of room in there. We've got cotton buds, we've got toilet roll. I keep all my toiletries in a sandwich bag or lunch bag. The reason for that is that it's slightly insulated and well padded. That way if it's rattling round or bumping round, I know everything's going to be okay in there, especially as I have a couple of products that are in glass containers. Now, one reason people don't like combo shower toilets is that the toilet gets wet, there's nowhere to put your clothes. I decided I didn't want to have that issue, and so I made this shower curtain, cut it down to size. It hooks onto these two hooks and then it covers the toilet and goes down to the floor. Not only does it keep the toilet dry, but it also means that I can put my towel and clothes in there ready so I can get changed straight away. Just saves having to go out of the bathroom to get my clothes and get dressed. Everything's in there ready. Now this shower curtain is something that I whipped up really quickly. It is rough as guts, and to be honest it's probably too long because it does touch the floor there. At some point I'll get another shower curtain, maybe something a little bit thicker and more heavy duty, and properly cut it to size. Now when I'm finished showering, what I do is unhook it from one side and bring it across to the other. That way it can kind of sit against that wall there and drain the water down. I'll then bundle it up and chuck it outside to dry along with my towel, and because the fabric is so thin, it dries really quickly. I sewed a big piece of elastic in as well, that way I can keep it all wrapped up tightly together, and it fits in the top of this cupboard perfectly. On the floor, I've got this wooden duck board just to try and help with keeping dirt off the bottom of the shower. It is not the right size in any way, shape or form. It's just something that we quickly bought. I would like to buy a couple of bigger ones and then properly make it so that it sits across the whole bottom of the shower. Here we have our shampoo, conditioner and body wash. We got this from Bunnings. I'll put a little screenshot now as to exactly what it's called. It was about $120, which is quite expensive, but in saying that, it's great. It keeps everything out the way. Don't have to worry about having multiple different bottles. It's siliconed onto the wall so it isn't going anywhere. There's hooks on each end for sponges or shower baths, whatever you want. And so far we found it's great. This hand soap here has been stuck to the wall with a bit of double-sided Velcro. I honestly thought it would fall off in about 5 minutes, but it has not budged in about 8 months, which is great. So convenient having this little sink in here. There's a lot of vans that we saw which have a shower and toilet but no sink. Being able to wash your hands, brush your teeth in here is great. Here I have the Toiletry toothbrush tile. I'll put a little screenshot as to exactly what it is. These have been fantastic. They have not budged. The toothbrushes in them don't fall out either. I can't say the same, however, for this one, which is next to it. This bigger caddy has fallen off all the time. It falls off when it's empty. It falls off when it's got one thing in it, two things in it. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. This caddy was $35, and it's really frustrating that it just doesn't seem to do its job. The whole idea with these products is that they're able to stick to the wall without any sort of adhesive. It just doesn't work for this caddy. I'm confident it's not the wall surface because the toothbrush tiles haven't moved. What I've ended up doing is sticking sticking some double-sided Velcro onto the back of this. I might try and see if I can silicone it on there instead, because it's the perfect size to fit in that spot. It's also the perfect size for some face wash and a couple of tubes of toothpaste, and so I'm determined to find a way to keep it on there. There is this tiny little shelf section in the corner here, but it is on a slope, so don't bother putting anything up there. Here we have the shower. It's great. I really like the matte black throughout the caravan. It gets really good pressure. I'll just show you here, when we're traveling, I do take the shower head down and I put it in this bikini bag or beach bag. I know you can get very fancy branded ones from some companies, but they're about $40, and this bikini bag is about $3 from Kmart. It does the exact same thing. You can also zip it up so that the head of the shower stays in there really securely. It's also waterproof, so if some water does leak out, it doesn't matter. So that's a run through of the bathroom. As I said, it's probably my favorite feature. I absolutely love it. Just showing you here that you can roll up the window coverings and put them away quite neatly. I probably should have done that at the start to make the caravan look a little bit nicer. Now I'm going to show you, when we're packing up ready to leave, where everything goes. So the toilet paper and this little spray bottle here, which we use when we don't want to flush the toilet and save a little bit of water, just goes into the cupboard here. Also, just quickly showing you here, this corner has a cover on it because it is a little bit sharp. Now I take the bedding and pillows off the top bunk and off the main bed. This was because we were told we really don't want to have anything that might slightly push the roof up and providing any sort of resistance when it's going down, especially because it is electric. You don't want there to be anything pushing against it. As I showed before, I take the shower head down and put it in its little bag, and I move the curtains across so that they can come down with the roof. I'll just show you the step to get out of the caravan. We have this navigator step buddy here, and it really needs securing with rug tape. It is a little bit slippy. I have almost slipped out of the van a few times. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you love the caravan as much as we do. The next few videos are going to be all the trips that we've done around Victoria. Coming up in the future, we are going to Kangaroo Island, and we're also going around Tasmania in the caravan. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can follow along with the adventure, and I'll see you in the next one.